Control your lust, and you'll understand how boring 90% of women are. Something very interesting is happening right now. An increasing number of men are choosing to remain childless and single. Now, we already know that half of all women will be childless and single come 2030. But the fact remains that so many men are opting out of dating relationships and just basic interactions with women in society. Watch to the end of the video to fully understand what implications there will be because so many men are now opting out of relationships in society. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the video.
So I don't have kids, nor do I plan on having any. In fact, I got a vasectomy to ensure that it doesn't happen. But now that I'm 32, a lot of my friends are deciding to have kids now. And while I'm happy for them, I'm realizing that my path to fulfillment and happiness doesn't look like theirs. And so in this video, I'm gonna share 10 big reasons why I decided to choose a child-free lifestyle and why you may want to as well. So number one is there's no pull or drive for me to want to have kids. So ever since I was 16, I never really wanted kids, and people would often tell me, oh, you'll change your mind once you get older. Well, I'm 32, almost 33, and I still feel exactly the same way. I just don't have any intrinsic desire to have kids. Number two, kids are expensive. So between clothes, education, healthcare, and food, all the necessities, kids are just crazy expensive. My mom told me that they probably spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on me, especially when you factor in that they paid for my undergrad education, which I'm immensely grateful for. But when I think about how much kids cost, I'm like, I would rather that money go towards something else that I enjoy. That leads beautifully to number three, which is I like to travel. And by the time you're watching this, I'm gonna be in Thailand, and I'm spending a whole month in Thailand, which I'm ecstatic for. And there's just no way that I could do that with kids. I wouldn't have the time for it. I wouldn't have the money for it. And so I would rather my money go towards living fulfilling experiences and traveling to cool places. Number four, I like spontaneity. So I live in Richmond, Virginia, and I'm an hour away from the Blue Ridge Mountains. And there are some weekends, holy crap, this horn, I don't know if you can hear this horn in the background, but it's really intense. But anyway, I live really close to the Blue Ridge Mountains, and there are some weekends where I just want to do a spontaneous day trip to do some hiking. And again, there's no way that I could do that if I had kids, especially if they're like infants. I can't take them hiking. And even if they were old enough to go hiking with me, then there's a good chance that they might have sporting events or some other commitment on a weekend that would make it to where I can't do spontaneous trips. Number five, it conflicts with my career goals. So I have ambitious plans to have a remote one-person business, and I devote a ton of time to making that dream become a reality.
You see, guys, this is a big loss for modern women. If you look at the Filipinas, the center of a Filipina's life is her family because she knows that no matter what, her survival comes from her family. No amount of money can replace the family. Women in Western society are completely lost. They don't understand the value of family, the value of community. Community and family are very important for women. They traded in the men in their community, they traded in the men in their homes for public assistance. They basically chose the government, the state, over men. So the authority over women has switched from men to the state. And now women work and operate as agents of the state. Women don't comprehend the extraordinary hardships they are now going to be facing. I will say this, however, I've learned just how much a woman will fight for her ego. It doesn't matter how bad things get for her. Don't get me wrong, there are many women who will lie and say whatever they have to do to get what they want when times get tough. But there are many women who will double down and they will basically say that no matter how bad their lives get, they will say that they made the right decision and tell other women to do exactly what they did to validate their bad decisions. This is why you have women who are in their 60s, pushing 70, referring to themselves as young women. childless single women referring to themselves as young women and talking about all of the options that they have, saying that 70-year-old women are dating billionaires. This is an extraordinary delusion. This is robbing young women of their lives. This is robbing young women of their futures, telling them that they should prioritize their careers, telling them that they don't need to worry about relationships or getting married or having children until they're in their 40s or even 50s. Why would you tell a young woman something like this? It is quite clear that they are trying to sabotage them. They want these women, they want young women, they want girls to find themselves in the same state that they are in, states of misery, poverty, destitution. And by doing this, they can then validate the poor decisions that they've made. Guys, something is wrong with modern women. When men mess up, when we fuck up as men, we start screaming and shouting and hollering at other men and telling them, for example, listen, see this bottle here? This is how I fucked up my life. I don't ever want to see you drinking. If I catch you drinking, it's going to be me and you. All right? Don't ever touch the bottle. Donald Trump used to have a brother. I talked about this in another video. His brother was a brilliant pilot. He was a commercial airline pilot. He used to train other people. They would send people to come and be trained by him. But he had a problem with drinking. And he just never escaped it. And he came, there were many times where he came very close to passing away, and he didn't, and he recovered, but eventually it got him. And Donald basically said it was amazing how many times he came back from it. But eventually, he finally passed. And, as a result of his alcoholism. And he would say to Donald, don't you ever touch the bottle. Not even once, not even one drink. Not even one drink for you. Because if you do it one time, you're going to enjoy it. He said, you're gonna like it. If you have just one drink, if you drink just one time, you're gonna like it. And Donald Trump says that as a result of that, he's never drank and he's never smoked, which shocked the hell out of me. Never been a drinker, never been a smoker. And it's very, very interesting. It's very, very interesting when you kind of understand the fact that men warn other men to avoid making the same mistakes that they make. You have all of these men, a lot of men now warning other men, don't get married, don't do what we did. There is nothing good waiting for you there. Stay the fuck away from this. And that's a very significant thing where you have men doing that. Women, on the other hand, they don't tell other women, don't do what we did. Don't think that out. Every so often you have maybe one or two, but the vast majority don't do that. They will tell other women to do exactly what they did, to go down the exact paths that they went down, so that these women too can now end up destitute and miserable because misery loves company. How evil do you have to be to do something like that? And then when these women do this, they'll take zero accountability for any of it. If I told a man, another man, to go and do something that would ultimately lead to this guy ending up in some serious trouble, really, really serious trouble, well, I would be accountable for that because I sent this man down this terrible path. And I'm responsible for that as a man. Women don't have I think most women, it's like their conscience is, it's strange. Like, how can you do this? I mean, think about it carefully. These are the same women who these are the same women who basically also, falsely make false claims on men, send them to prison, and then if you're lucky, most cases you're not, they find out that she was lying and they sleep well at night. These are the same women that used M2 to destroy so many lives. So you have to realize they just, women don't actually care about other women. They use other women to get what they want, but they don't actually genuinely care about other women. Most women don't like one another. and most women will betray the sisterhood for the right man. It's 100% true. Most women will betray the sisterhood in a heartbeat. There's no loyalty among thieves. There's no loyalty among thieves. There's no honor among thieves. I did tell you guys quite some time ago that women would say, feminism got us everything that we wanted. Now let's fight it together. As you can see, you have an increasing number of women who are beginning to say that online dating is terrible, apps are terrible, their lives are miserable, they can't survive. They're realizing that the relationships that they have through these dating apps are superficial. They're realizing that being on Only Fools and Lonely Fans doesn't make you a high value woman. It was, you basically were just busting it wide open for low value men, men that, the average man would not even want to be around. For example, I chase the Sims out of here all the time. Like Sims are despised and looked down upon among most normal men. And women basically have been living off the simp economy and giving their jewels to their whatever you want to call it, their flower to these very despicable individuals that usually would be chased off by chased off by any man with real value or masculinity. And these are the men that women are out there, giving it up to, right? Selling their souls to, because like once you're on Only Fools and Lonely Fans, you've basically sold your soul to the devil. You're engaging in some really evil and sadistic behavior. I honestly will say this right now. I'm not saying that I would want to date a woman who's been involved in the sex industry. I've known women who've been in that industry, who've, worked in the industry or worked as escorts or shit like that. I've had family members who've done that shit. But I don't know. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I will say this, and I think a lot of men have the opinion too, where if I'm in a relationship with a woman and she told me that she used to do escorting, I wouldn't be ecstatic about it. But if she told me early on into the relationship, if she's an all right person, I would not go ballistic about it, and I may not even break up with her as a result of it. I think a lot of guys overthink the notion of women who, sell, what for, for money. It happens everywhere. I had a cousin once who I found out she was doing it, and I was like, "Listen, I know what you're doing," and she tried to bullshit me about it, and I was like, "Listen, I know who you are, and I know what you are," and she goes, "Well, I guess every girl sells pussy once in their lives." And she seemed really nostalgic about it. And that was the end of that conversation. Most girls do this shit. Guys, you'll be shocked. Some of y'all are like angry. No, most girls don't do this. Listen to me, little bro. All right? You might be surprised to know that your 19-year-old has sold pussy. At least, all right. At least, or you're a lot of y'all don't want to live in reality. No, not my baby girl. Not my. Listen to me, angry. My daughter would never. I don't give a fuck what you say to me. You hear me, boy? My daughter would never do it. Fast forward, a year from now, 6 months from now, angry. I don't know what happened. I found out this little bitch was selling ass. Bro, you were coming at me, little bro. You were coming at me with all of that energy. You don't remember all of that energy? Yeah, man. No, no, it's Sama now. It's Sama now. You can say San or Sama, but it's Sama. For you, it's Sama. Angry Sama. Angry Sama. If you don't understand how to pronounce it properly, go speak to Mayumi. She'll help you out with that. All right? It's Angry Sama. Don't you come at me. Don't you come at me and think that you're going to just waltz your way back and try to have a normal conversation with me because I told you what you were dealing with, man. I just didn't know. Yeah, you didn't want to listen. You didn't want to understand. I explained it to you, but you did not want to accept reality because you wanted that whole Disney princess thing. Oh, you don't know what it's like to have a daughter. Oh, really? Yeah. So how are things now? I can't stand that little bitch. Uh-huh. So now, but she was your Disney princess before, wasn't she? You see, this is the bullshit. This is the bullshit that these men are on. Because once they experience it for themselves, once they discover it for themselves, now they're like, Ah, shit. You know? Ah, shit. Angry was right. This is how women are. But I will say, like, if I'm in a relationship with a woman, or I have a friend, and if I'm in a relationship with a woman and I find out that she's been involved in, sex work, as long, again, I'm not, if we've been in a decent relationship, I'm not gonna marry her, but I don't plan on ever marrying her. But if she's chill and everything has been good in the relationship, I probably would not end the relationship. The reason why is because most women today are just not that much better. They have high body counts. It is like but if I found out that she was on OnlyFools or LonelyFans, I could not be with her. And I think a lot of guys are like that too. Like if you find out that you're with a woman who was on OnlyFools or LonelyFans, like cut it out, like cut it right there, because that is forever. Her action, like the internet is forever, so she will always be on the internet somewhere. Some guy will always have her in a folder. It's not the same as she sent her NUDSs to some dude that she used to date. No, it's literally like this shit will live on the dark web forever, man. You don't even have to use the dark web. Bro, duck, duck, go, duck, duck, go. All right, just pop her name in and NUDE, and she'll just come up and you'll see everything.
And I know that if I had kids, I would have to shut down that dream because I just wouldn't have the time or the energy to juggle both. Number 6, I'm already a lot to look after. I get frequent self-doubt, overwhelm, anxiety, and general monkey mind. There's a lot of self-maintenance I have to do to kind of keep me on track with my goals, as well as just to be present in life. And so having kids would just detract from my ability to work on myself and be present. Number 7, kids are stressful. They cry a lot, they complain a lot. Hell, you can't even understand what they're saying for the first few years of life. Now, I have friends who say that having kids is the best thing that has happened to them, and I believe them. But those same people also complain about how tired they are, how stressed out they are. And for me, I'd rather just avoid that stress altogether. Number 8, this is kind of a dark one, but potential health complications. So when I was a baby, I had a condition called spinal meningitis, which is an infection of the membrane that covers the spinal cord and brain. If that sounds bad, that's because it's hella bad. Like, if that doesn't get treated, then I can have brain damage, and if I don't get hospitalized within 24 hours, it can lead to death. So thank you, Mom and Dad, for helicoptering me to the hospital, because otherwise I might not be here. But all that to say, not all babies come out healthy, and some can have pretty bad birth defects, and some that can even persist throughout life. And I can't imagine the stress and anxiety that parents have when they have to care for a child that has certain birth defects like that. So again, I would rather just avoid all that stress entirely. Number 9, the ratio of precious moments to awful moments often isn't that good. So parents obviously will celebrate the milestones in their child's life. The first time they walk, the first time they talk, the first day of school, all that fun stuff. But what happens in between those milestones often isn't that glamorous. For example, my parents never fail to tell me of when I was an infant and I was bumping down the stairs on my butt. Well, apparently I had to go to the bathroom and I wasn't wearing a diaper, and so I did it down the entire staircase. And it was carpeted stairs, and it was not number 1. Never has my dad wanted to drown me in a bathtub more than that moment. Number 10, it's a lifetime of work. So people say it's an 18-year time commitment to be a parent. No, it's not. I lived with my parents until I was 30 years old because I was paying down grad school debt. And really, if you think about it, being a parent is a lifelong commitment. My mom always says that her job as a mom is lifelong and it never ends. And so if you think that being a parent stops at 18, that's just not real at all. And so for me, I just don't want to have that commitment. People often tell me that I'll never experience the joy of parenthood. And while that's true, I'm enjoying life a lot right now. I'm happy, I'm doing things and having experiences that are meaningful to me. I'm working towards goals that I'm passionate about. Not everyone is meant to have kids, and I think if people want kids just to follow the traditional life script that society lays out for us, I think that they should really sit down and reflect on what their actual values are and seeing if having kids aligns with that. Kids deserve to have parents who intrinsically want to be parents in the first place. I think society pressures people into having kids no matter who you are, but I think some people can find purpose and meaning through other ways, and that's definitely the camp that I fall into. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.
And this guy is not the only one. A lot of men are now waking up to this conclusion that having kids just kind of makes no sense for the average man right now. Why are you going to have kids? Why are you going to put yourself in that situation? Also, guys, there's the notion that so many modern women behave very, very childish and they bring absolutely nothing to the relationship. We have another video that we're going to be jumping into, and it kind of illustrates this point. And there are some women who are actually calling out this behavior themselves. And of course, they would know it because they're the ones who've engaged in it.
There are 7 feminine archetypes, but for the purpose of this video, I'll only be discussing the 3 chronological ones because they're correlated with levels of maturity. These 3 archetypes are known as the maiden, the mother, and the crone. These 3 archetypes represent the stages of a woman's life. She begins life as a maiden, transitions to a mother, and in the latter part of her life she gains the wisdom to become a crone. Each feminine archetype is a powerful representation of the elements found within a woman's psyche. Ideally, a woman will encompass all 7 feminine archetypes in some manner throughout the course of her life, but in the stories and dreams we create, characters are often divided into one of the primary archetypes. The maiden can be thought of as the immature feminine, and the mother and crone represent the mature feminine. Each form that the maiden archetype takes, like all archetypes, has a shadow side. The shadow is where darkness lurks in the human soul. With each archetype, there are good qualities and there are bad qualities, much like how people actually are in real life. The shadow aspects of the maiden emerge the most in women who have failed to make the psychological transition from maiden to mother despite getting older. This is commonly referred to as the wounded maiden. The book Maiden to Mother by Sarah Durham Wilson explores this concept in depth. According to the book, many women in today's society are perpetually stuck in their wounded maiden. This is evident not just anecdotally, but shows up in our culture as well. The epidemic of immature and wounded women stuck in an earlier phase of development is exemplified by the appearance of something called brat summer, which is a term coined for women who are fans of a pop artist known as Charli XCX, and her new album entitled Brat that has become popular. An article was published by USA Today explaining how Gen Z seems to have particularly been taken by the aesthetic and attitude of Charli XCX. According to the article, Brat Summer is all about accepting your imperfections while embracing the chaos. Charli XCX and her fans seek to change the meaning of the word brat from being a negative thing to a trendy and positive thing. According to the artist herself, quote, "You're just like that girl who is a little messy and likes to party and maybe says dumb things sometimes, who feels herself but maybe also has a breakdown, but kind of like parties through it, is very honest, very blunt, a little bit volatile, like does dumb things, but it's brat, you're brat, that's brat," end quote. It should be noted that this woman is 32 years old. Brat Summer seems to be about the exaltation of partying, pleasure-seeking, and sexual promiscuity. It glamorizes hedonism. This trend provides an example of how acceptable it is for women to delay adulthood indefinitely. It is almost as if society ushers women into a perpetual state of stunted psychological development, characterized by a lack of self-awareness and without a sense of personal responsibility. It's become fashionable to live according to no one else's standards and behave in unruly ways to redefine the common usage of the word brat. The wounded maiden. Because women are getting married and having children later and later in life, their maidenhood is being extended. In the past, women would marry around the age of 20, and that is normally when they would transition from maiden to mother due to the dramatic changes that took place. But now, since the average age of marriage and children for women is closer to 30, the transition from maiden to mother is happening later in their lives. This can be a problem because at the age of 18, people are considered adults. They begin to have adult responsibilities, careers, and relationships. They are legally held accountable for their actions. Women at this age who get pregnant and give birth are required to summon a lot of maturity in order to meet the responsibilities of parenthood. Women may unconsciously believe that remaining in their maiden archetype is a way of preserving their youth. However, the lack of the mature feminine is actually holding them back, and they don't even realize it. I understand that it may feel somewhat unnatural to embrace maturation, as it seems to detract from the appeal of youth. Unfortunately, just because you stop maturing psychologically doesn't mean your body stops aging. Sometimes women resist maturation because they fear abandonment, but by failing to grow and improve themselves, these women bring on the very thing that they fear. As a woman gets older and continues to resist transitioning to the mature feminine, the more likely she is to display the negative qualities that go along with the shadow side of the maiden. She will lack accountability. She will blame other people for her problems. She'll be the permanent damsel in distress, ever victimized by a cruel and unjust world. It's a good thing to harness the attributes of the maiden archetype while a woman is still in her youth. There are positive qualities of the maiden that are appropriate to embrace throughout a woman's lifetime.
You see, what's happening here is quite interesting, and it kind of helps to break down what what we are seeing in very much in Western society. A lot of modern women have not matured into adulthood. They are forever trapped in their adolescent phase. They are not going from their teenage years. They're perpetually teenagers. Their teenage years are being extended well through their 20s and their 30s and their 40s. You see, because women are waiting much longer to transition into motherhood, or they're never doing this, they are forever stuck in the thing based on simply being a woman. Do you realize how many women have traveled the world and they have been allowed to enjoy extraordinary things just for existing? They didn't go, so for example, they go overseas and they go around with these wealthy guys. Sometimes companies will even pay for them just because they exist, just because they want them to be there to attract men and money. And they get to enjoy these lives just for existing. And even in many cases, they'll fly around the world with wealthy guys and they won't even be physically intimate with any of them. You know? Like they're just hired. They are literally just hired. Or I shouldn't even say just, that's kind of what it is. They're basically just being hired to be there, just to sit there. So they get to eat very well. They get to sometimes they get pocket money, small amounts of money. They get all their expenses are met. So for example, they have hotel rooms. They can order whatever they want, room service. They could eat the absolute best, things that men could never imagine. Okay? They're getting out of sports cars, expensive cars. Many of you will never ever drive around in a Lamborghini. Many of you will never experience these things. Okay? Flying around in a private jet for them is a normal thing just for existing. They're showing so much respect and ushered around just because they're women. So now they come back to the real world and they see a guy with his little 75K and they say, that's ew, that guy 75K, that gives me the icks. They see a guy that makes over 100K, they say 100K. I mean, you're still kind of a broke boy. 150K, I mean, that's okay, but it's nothing special. That's like the new minimum wage. I'm used to being flown around in private jets. I'm used to guys who can wine me and dine me and give me the entire world. This is their mindset. They're completely disconnected from reality. And a lot of these women don't even have family today. They don't have family or community. Many of these women are going to find themselves on the streets when everything goes down. That's why you have so many videos of women crying on TikTok saying that they don't know how they're going to survive, they can't afford to pay their rent, and they're scared. They made this decision, they made this choice for themselves, and now they're going to have to lay with it. Now they're going to have to lay in the beds that they've made. That's just the reality. I'm telling you guys, women chose this, but they don't. Women cannot take accountability for anything. So when hell on earth arrives, they're going to look for someone to bail them out. But the state is broke. The state will just basically try to condemn men, and it won't matter because men have been told to leave women alone. I really like this meme. I got this off Twitter, and it's basically Agenda 2020, Agenda 2030. You will own a farm and you will be happy. The art of purpose, and basically, people living off the grid, people living on a farm. A lot of women are not going to go for this lifestyle because they're addicted to drama, they're addicted to the streets. But a lot of men, this is what a lot of men want. This is what I've wanted for a long time. You know, my parents grew up in rural areas. They grew up on, nice big pieces of land. My father, his parents left behind a large amount of land, and now him and his siblings all live off it. That's something that's very, very big. A lot of people don't know about this. It happens especially in a lot of other countries where their families will have like large amounts of ancestral land, and the families will just basically go and live off that land, and they can always basically build a house on it or whatever. And it's just very sad. Like, our parents, the baby boomers, they have money hidden in different places that they inherited from our grandparents, from the silent generation, the greatest generation. Of course, that none of that we will never see any of that money, and we will never have any ownership of the land that was left behind by our grandparents, because the boomers, they wanted everything for themselves. They've left nothing for their kids. And then at the same time, now they're targeting Gen Z, and they expect Gen Z to pay their bills and to subsidize their living going forward. It's crazy what the boomers have done. Like, this is a real generation of extraordinary narcissists where they care about no one else but themselves. And then you wonder why Gen Z doesn't want to work. And I'll tell you right now, Gen Z doesn't want to work. Now, don't get me wrong. A part of it is that a lot of them are lazy, but then another part of it is that they realize there ain't shit. Like, there's nothing to look forward to because everyone is suffering right now, and it's not going to get any better than this. The truth is that the smartest move you can make is to basically try to build a business, build a brand, and go from there. And it's not easy, but it's doable. Don't forget, guys, I have a YouTube course for you. It's linked in the description. You can go and check it out if you want to learn how to build a six-figure YouTube channel, a six-figure YouTube business like I've done with just this channel. You can go over to the description and click on the course and start learning, guys, because that's the best thing that you can do for yourself right now, because everything's going downhill. Those luxurious 9 to 5 jobs are going to be going away, especially with the advent of AI. People using AI are going to replace people, and you need to learn how to build a business, build a brand, and YouTube is one of the best places to do that, or just getting your feet wet so you can transition to other platforms as well, because the things you learn here you can take anywhere. Hey guys, check out the Angry Guy Clubhouse. Get insights on Manosphere topics, exclusive podcasts, and strategies to thrive in today's world. Free subscribers get access to videos, podcast articles, and the community chat. Plus, just for subscribing, you'll receive the passive income blueprint to kickstart your journey. Paid subscribers unlock even more with exclusive guides, wealth building, blueprints, and occasional updates on crypto trends. Don't wait. Hit the link in the description and join us now. Come 2030, half of all women will be childless and single between the ages of 25 and 44. And that's not even counting that's not counting single moms. When you factor them in, we're talking 70, 90%. Guys, a lot of these women are going to find themselves in increased states of poverty, destitution, and hardship. They'll be living on the streets, living in the woods, living in their cars, and the state will be pissed off. But there's not much the state can do because we were told to leave their women alone, so we left them alone. And now the state will need to go and subsidize the living of these women themselves. What do you guys think? Do you agree with this analysis? Let me know your thoughts, and we'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA men walking away. And cheers.